Every morning, the same question stares you down. Will today be another repeat of yesterday, or the beginning of something greater? You wake up caught between the weight of who you've been and the possibility of who you could become. And it's easy to believe transformation only comes through massive changes, through radical shifts you can barely imagine sustaining. But the truth is simpler, quieter, and far more powerful. The smallest consistent choices, the ones no one notices, are the ones that decide your future. 1%. That's all it takes. Not perfection, not reinvention, just a daily step forward. Small enough to keep, powerful enough to compound into something unshakable. Watch this video till the end, subscribe and like if you're ready to rise 1% stronger every morning. You look at your life and sometimes wonder why the change you want feels so far away. You tell yourself you'll make the leap when the timing is perfect, when the courage shows up, when the big opportunity finally arrives. But here's the part no one wants to hear. The big moments rarely come. The transformation you're waiting for doesn't arrive in explosions or miracles. It comes in whispers, in small, almost invisible choices you repeat when no one is watching. It feels insignificant at first. One glass of water, one page read, one push-up, one promise kept. Your mind argues, this won't matter, it's too small to change anything. But this is where most people get lost. They dismiss the small gains because they don't look powerful enough. They're chasing the dramatic, the sudden breakthrough, and because they're waiting they never move. But you can move, you can choose 1% better today, not 100, not even 10. 1. The step so small that your excuses can't destroy it, and then you do it again tomorrow, and again the next day. And in the beginning nothing looks different. You still see the same reflection, still carry the same doubts, but underneath, something is happening. You're building momentum that compounds quietly. Think about the weight you've been carrying, the pressure to be perfect, to change everything overnight. That pressure suffocates you because it sets you up to fail. Perfection is too heavy to carry, but progress is light. It's a seed. And seeds don't explode into trees. They grow silently, almost unnoticed, until one day you look up and realize the roots are deep, the trunk is strong, and the branches are reaching farther than you thought possible. Each morning, you have a choice. You can wake up and surrender to the pull of yesterday, or you can wake up and commit to one small act that honors your future. The act doesn't need applause, it doesn't even need to be seen. What matters is that you see it, you feel it, and you know you're moving forward. That's how you free yourself from the cycle of starting over again and again. And when the days stack, when 1 becomes 10, 10 becomes 100, you'll see what others miss. That greatness is not a single strike, it is the quiet collection of small gains, repeated until they become unstoppable. That's the silent power, that's the force that transforms not just what you do, but who you are. So stop chasing the dramatic, stop waiting for the big leap, commit to 1% today. And when you do, you'll realize that small doesn't mean weak. Small means possible. Small means sustainable. And over time, small becomes extraordinary. You wake up, and before you've spoken a word, your life is already asking, who are you going to be today? It's not a loud question, it's subtle, buried under the noise of routine. The alarm, the phone, the endless list of things waiting for you. But beneath all that, the question is always there, and most people don't answer it. They just repeat who they were yesterday. That's why so many mornings feel heavy. You carry yesterday's choices, yesterday's failures, yesterday's doubts, straight into today, without even realizing you've agreed to live the same story again. But the truth is, every morning is a reset, a blank page, a chance to choose, not just what you'll do, but who you're becoming. Your identity isn't built in grand declarations or rare victories. It's built in the first choices you make when the world is still quiet. Do you roll over and hide from the day, or do you rise and set a tone? Do you let your phone dictate your mood, or do you claim a moment for yourself before the world intrudes? These aren't just habits, they are signals. Each small action is casting a vote for the person you're deciding to be. If you want strength, you practice it in the way you stand when you wake. If you want clarity, you build it in the stillness before the noise arrives. If you want discipline, you prove it by keeping the simplest promises, drinking the water, making the bed, moving your body, choosing focus over distraction. None of these things are dramatic, but they are deliberate. And deliberate action is how identity is shaped. Think about it, the person you dream of becoming isn't waiting in the distance, they're built in these small choices. Each morning you're either training yourself to drift further from them or aligning yourself closer. You don't have to change everything at once. You just have to honor the morning as sacred ground. Because here's the truth, the day will test you. The noise will come. Distractions will claw at you. Doubt will whisper. But if you've already decided who you are in the first hour, the world has less power to sway you. You're not reacting anymore. You're rooted. You're carrying identity into the day instead of looking for it in other people's approval or circumstances you can't control. This is why mornings matter. Not because they're magical, but because they are the foundation. And when the foundation is strong, the rest of the structure can stand no matter how heavy the weight becomes. So tomorrow, when you open your eyes, don't just stumble into the day. Remember, you're not only waking up to time, you're waking up to identity. Make the first choice count, make it aligned, and as you do, you'll notice something powerful. You're no longer repeating yesterday, you're building tomorrow, one deliberate morning at a time. The alarm goes off and without thinking, your hand reaches for the phone. Notifications flash, messages pile, the world rushes in before you even sit up. In less than a minute, your attention is hijacked. You haven't spoken a word, you haven't drawn a breath with awareness, and yet your day already belongs to something outside of you. That's how most mornings slip away. Not because of failure later, but because the first 10 minutes are given away without a fight. Those 10 minutes are not ordinary. They are the doorway between who you were yesterday and who you're becoming today. If you stumble through them, the day will scatter you. But if you master them, you take control of everything that follows. The first 10 minutes decide whether you enter your day grounded or unprepared, reactive or intentional. Think about what usually fills them: rushing, noise, distraction. You wake with pressure already building, and you wonder why the rest of the day feels heavy. But the heaviness started here. It started when you forgot that those opening moments are your chance to anchor yourself before the storm begins. Mastering the first 10 minutes doesn't mean filling them with a list of tasks. It means claiming them as sacred. Start with your breath. Inhale deeply, not as routine, but as a reminder: I am here, I am awake, I am alive. That single act pulls you back into your body, into the present, into the truth that you are not at the mercy of yesterday or tomorrow. You are here now. Then move with intention. Sit up tall. Place your feet firmly on the ground. These are not small gestures, they are signals. They tell your mind that you are leading. They tell your body that you are ready. That shift in posture, that choice to rise with clarity instead of collapse into distraction, sets the tone not only for your morning, but for how you'll meet the challenges ahead. Introduce 1 or 2 rituals, simple, repeatable, grounding. Drink water slowly and feel it wake your system. Stretch and notice tension leaving. Write a single sentence about what matters today. These are not chores, they are anchors that hold you steady when the current of the day starts pulling you in every direction. Momentum begins here, not in the middle of the afternoon when chaos has already drained you, but in the first minutes when you decide what kind of energy you will carry into the world. And momentum is everything, because when you start from a place of presence, the small actions that follow carry more weight. You approach your work with clarity. You enter conversations with calm. You handle obstacles with a steadiness that surprises even you. But if you waste those minutes, if you hand them over to distraction, the opposite happens. You enter the day fractured, restless, reactive. You're not leading, you're chasing. And once you're chasing, the day doesn't slow down for you to catch up. So you have a choice: to let the first 10 minutes slip away unnoticed, or to treat them as the most important part of your day. Because they are the foundation. They are the moment you declare ownership of your time, your focus, your energy. When you master those 10 minutes, you stop waiting for motivation. You stop hoping the day will somehow go your way. You step into it with intention, already centered, already clear. And from that place you don't just survive the day, you shape it. The world will still come with its noise, its demands, its chaos, but it will come after you've already decided who you are and how you will carry yourself. That's the power of those first 10 minutes. And when you claim them, you claim the rest of the day as your own. You wake up and immediately the world tries to bury you. 100 little tasks compete for your attention. Messages waiting, obligations pulling, distractions dressed as urgency. begging you to scatter your energy before you've even had a chance to breathe. You know this feeling, being pulled in 10 directions, none of which actually move you closer to who you want to become. And at the end of days like this, you feel drained but not fulfilled, busy but not better, surrounded by movement but empty of progress. Because improvement isn't about doing more, it never has been. It's about doing what matters most. And that takes discipline, the discipline to resist distraction, the discipline to focus your energy, the discipline to choose deliberately, rather than drift passively. Each morning you are handed a decision. You can spend your energy trying to do everything, or you can anchor yourself in one thing that actually matters, just one, not 10, not 5. One. That choice feels small in the moment, but over time it becomes the difference between a life of exhaustion and a life of clarity. Think about it, if you wake up and immediately throw yourself into everything, you train yourself to live reactive, but when you stop and decide, this is what I will give my best to today, you step into power. That action, whether it's working on your health, practicing your craft, strengthening your mind, or repairing a relationship, becomes your foundation. And when the distractions arrive, as they always do, you're not lost. You already know where to return. Discipline is not about harshness. It's not about stripping joy from your life. It's about protecting your energy from being wasted on things that don't matter. It's about making your yes powerful by giving it only to what aligns with who you want to become. And that means learning to say no, not once but daily, to the meaningless scrolling, to the endless busyness, to the shallow urgencies that only steal your time. The world rewards distraction, it celebrates noise, but your future will be built on what you protect, not on what you surrender to. Every morning, when you deliberately choose one meaningful action, you are proving to yourself that your life has direction. You are proving that your attention cannot be bought by trivial things. You are building strength, not the kind that lifts weight in an instant, but the kind that carries vision across years. And here's the truth. It won't feel dramatic at first. It may not even feel satisfying. Choosing one meaningful action will often feel too small, too slow, too simple compared to the chaos pulling at you. But if you honor it daily, the compounding effect is undeniable. You will look back weeks, months, years from now, and realize that everything changed, not because you did more, but because you finally started doing what mattered. So tomorrow, before the noise arrives, pause, breathe, ask yourself, what truly matters today? Choose it, commit to it. Guard it like your life depends on it, because in a way it does. Your life is nothing more than the sum of what you give your time to. And when you master the discipline of choosing what matters, you no longer live at the mercy of distractions. You live with clarity. You live with strength. You live aligned with the person you are becoming. That is the discipline that transforms you. Not by adding more, but by protecting what matters most. You've tried before, haven't you? You've started something with fire in your chest, only to watch that fire fade when the results didn't come fast enough. You gave effort, you sacrificed, you showed up for a while, but when the payoff didn't match the pain, you told yourself, maybe it wasn't worth it, and so you stopped. Not because you were weak, but because you misunderstood how growth works. Progress is not immediate, it's not loud, it's not linear. Progress is compound. It builds quietly, invisibly, long before you see any evidence. And this is where most people give up, in the silence between effort and result. Every small action you repeat is a seed. Drink the water, read the page, write the sentence, do the reap. None of these things feel life-changing in the moment, but that's because compounding doesn't reveal itself instantly. It reveals itself in time, when the seeds you've planted begin to multiply beneath the surface. One seed becomes roots. Roots become stability. Stability becomes growth that can't be undone. The power of compounding isn't in how big the action looks, but in how often it's repeated. 1% today, 1% tomorrow, 1% the day after. The effort feels small, almost meaningless, but stacked over days, weeks, months, those small percentages begin to build momentum that cannot be stopped. Momentum is the force you've been missing. It's the invisible push that carries you forward on days when you don't feel strong. But you only earn it by consistency. If you start and stop, you keep resetting the clock. If you keep showing up, even when it's boring, even when it's slow, even when you don't feel like it, The effect compounds until it's bigger than your mood, bigger than your doubt, bigger than your excuses. Think of the choices you've been dismissing because they feel too small. That glass of water instead of soda, that page written instead of scrolled away, that workout instead of an excuse. Alone, they feel insignificant, but consistency turns them into a force that shapes your entire identity. You stop being someone who tries sometimes and become someone who shows up always. And when you show up always, the universe cannot ignore it. The hardest part is trusting the silence, trusting that even when you can't see the change, it's happening. Your body is adapting. Your mind is strengthening. Your habits are solidifying. And then one day, without fanfare, you look back and realize how far you've come. The gap between who you were and who you are now is unrecognizable. And it wasn't one leap that did it. It was every small step compounding into a path you couldn't have seen at the start. This is the truth about growth. It will never feel like enough in the moment. But that's the trap. The compounding effect is always at work, whether you notice it or not. Every day you choose consistency, you are building something that future you will thank you for, something that future you will stand on with unshakable pride. So the next time you feel like your effort is too small to matter, remember this. Nothing extraordinary is built in one moment. It is built in thousands of ordinary ones, stacked on top of each other until they become unstoppable. That is the compounding effect of consistency. And once it's in motion, nothing can hold you back. There are mornings when you don't want to move. The weight in your chest feels heavier than your body itself. Fatigue clings to you like chains. Doubt whispers that you're not built for this, that maybe it's easier to just give in, to push it off until tomorrow. And in those moments, even the smallest task feels impossible. Getting out of bed feels like climbing a mountain. Facing the day feels like too much to ask. This is where the real test begins. Not on the easy mornings when energy flows freely, not on the days when you feel unstoppable. The test is here, in the heaviness. Because these are the mornings that shape you. These are the mornings that decide whether your commitment is real or just a wish spoken when it was convenient. Struggle isn't a sign you're failing, it's proof that you're pushing against resistance. And resistance is where strength is born. Think of a muscle. It doesn't grow by being comfortable. It grows by being tested, by breaking, by rebuilding stronger than before. Your mind, your spirit, your discipline, they work the same way. Each time you face struggle and still show up, even in the smallest way, you're proving to yourself that you cannot be broken by circumstance. You don't have to conquer the whole mountain in one step. On the heavy mornings, the victory is in showing up at all. Pour the water, take the breath, move your body, even if it's just a few steps. Do one thing, not perfectly, but honestly. That single act is a declaration: I will not abandon myself today. And that declaration plants a seed of resilience, deeper than any easy day could ever give you. Because here's the truth, growth is not built when everything feels light. Growth is forged when everything feels heavy and you still take a step forward. Each act of defiance against your own resistance rewires your identity. You stop seeing yourself as someone who quits when it's hard. You start seeing yourself as someone who stands, who endures, who pushes back against the weight until it bends. And when you repeat this often enough, those heavy mornings lose their power over you. They don't disappear, but they no longer define you. You walk into them with the quiet confidence that you've faced them before, and you will face them again. And each time you do, you grow stronger, steadier, harder to shake. This is how weakness becomes resilience. Not by pretending the struggle isn't there, but by meeting it head on, one small act at a time. Struggle is not the enemy. Struggle is the training ground. It is the fire that burns away excuses and leaves only what is real. So the next time you wake up heavy, remember, you don't need to win the whole day in that moment. You just need to move once, show up once, prove to yourself that you will not wait for perfect conditions to grow. Because when you can rise on the hardest mornings, the rest of the days become yours to command. That's how you transform resistance into resilience. That's how you turn struggle into strength. There's a quiet kind of pain that doesn't come from failure itself, but from breaking promises to yourself. You know that feeling. You say you'll start tomorrow, and tomorrow comes but you don't. You promise yourself you'll follow through, but you quit halfway. And after enough of those broken promises, it's not just the habit that suffers, it's you. You start to doubt your own word. You stop trusting yourself. And when you can't trust yourself, the foundation of your life begins to crack. That's why growth requires more than goals. It requires trust. Trust that when you say you'll do something, you will. Not sometimes. Not only when it's convenient, but consistently enough that your mind begins to believe you again. Because every action you take is proof. Proof that you are someone who keeps their word or someone who doesn't. And that proof is shaping you every single day. The way back isn't dramatic. It doesn't come from some grand transformation. It comes through repetition. Small daily actions that may seem meaningless in the moment, but are powerful because they are kept. When you say you'll wake up at a certain time and you do, you rebuild a brick of trust. When you say you'll drink the water, do the workout, write the page, and you keep that promise, another brick is laid. The wall is slow to build, but it grows strong, and soon it becomes a foundation that nothing can shake. The danger is in underestimating how much those small actions matter. You dismiss them, thinking they're too minor to make a difference. But repetition is the language your brain listens to. Each act repeated is like carving a groove into stone. The deeper the groove, the easier it is to follow. The easier it is to follow, the stronger your belief becomes. Until one day, what once felt impossible is simply who you are. Think about the opposite. Each time you break your word, you reinforce the belief that you can't be trusted, that your promises are just empty noise. And once you believe that, it spreads. You don't just doubt your ability to follow through on a task. You start doubting your ability to follow through on your dreams, your relationships, your very identity. That's how self-doubt multiplies. That's how confidence crumbles. But when you practice repetition, when you show up daily, even in the smallest way, you begin to undo that damage. You teach yourself that your word means something again. And once you trust yourself, your confidence no longer depends on outcomes you can't control. It doesn't matter how long the journey takes, because you know you'll keep walking. It doesn't matter how hard the struggle is, because you know you won't abandon yourself. That's a kind of confidence no one can take from you. Some days you'll only have a little to give. That's fine. Keep the promise anyway, even if it's in a smaller form. 5 minutes instead of 50, 1 page instead of 10. What matters is that you do what you said you would, because repetition is less about volume and more about truth. Every time you keep your word, no matter how small, you strengthen the foundation. And with time, something shifts inside you. You stop looking for external validation because you've built internal evidence. You no longer need to convince yourself with empty affirmations because your actions already prove the truth. You can be trusted, you are reliable, you are consistent. And from that trust, growth becomes inevitable. So remember this, the most powerful transformation doesn't come from intensity, it comes from repetition. Not once, not sometimes, daily. Each promise kept becomes a thread, enough threads, and you weave a rope strong enough to pull yourself out of any doubt, any setback, any struggle. That rope is self-trust. And once you've built it, it will hold you no matter what comes. You wake up and immediately feel the split. Your body craves rest, your mind is restless, your spirit is quiet but heavy. It's like 3 different versions of you, each pulling in its own direction, and most days you push through without noticing the disconnect. You try to perform while your body is exhausted, you try to think clearly while your mind is scattered, you try to feel whole while your spirit is empty, and by the end of the day you wonder why you feel drained even when you've done so much. The truth is, you can't separate yourself into pieces and expect to grow. You can't neglect one part and hope the others will carry you. Growth is not meant to be isolated. It is meant to be aligned, body, mind, and spirit. They are not 3 lives you live. They are one, and when one weakens, the others bend with it. That's why 1% each day matters. Not a massive transformation, not an overhaul you can't sustain, just a small step forward in each part of you. 1% stronger in your body, 1% sharper in your mind, 1% calmer in your spirit. Individually, they feel small. Together, they shift the entire way you move through life. Start with your body. It carries you through every choice, every struggle, every victory. When you move it, fuel it, respect it, you're not just building strength, you're building trust. A healthier body tells your mind you are capable. It tells your spirit you are disciplined. It anchors you in the physical reality that you are here and you are able. Then your mind, it is your lens, and a clouded lens distorts everything. Feeding it with clarity, through reading, learning, or even a few moments of focused stillness, is not about knowledge alone. It's about training your thoughts to work for you instead of against you. Each morning you discipline your mind. You're deciding not to be at the mercy of worry, distraction, or doubt. And then your spirit, often ignored, but always present. Spirit is not about rituals or perfection, it's about presence. It's the quiet alignment you feel when your actions match your values, when your pace slows enough for you to hear yourself. 1% here might mean a moment of gratitude, a prayer, a deep breath, where you remember life is more than survival. That 1% feeds the part of you that cannot be measured but always felt. When you give each part of yourself, even a fraction of attention, you create balance. You no longer feel scattered because all of you is moving forward, together, even if slowly. That's why holistic growth feels different. Because it doesn't demand perfection in one area, while another collapses. It demands only that you keep showing up for every part of you, every morning. Some mornings, you'll have more for one than the others. That's fine. The goal is not equal effort, but equal acknowledgement. The discipline of saying, I will not abandon my body. I will not abandon my mind. I will not abandon my spirit. That discipline, repeated daily, builds alignment, and alignment builds peace. When you live this way, progress feels different. You're not just stronger, or just smarter, or just calmer. You are whole. You carry yourself with a steadiness that doesn't shatter when life tests you, because you've practiced tending to every part of you, not in grand gestures but in the daily 1%. So tomorrow, when the weight of life meets you in the morning, remember this: you don't need to do everything, you just need to give each part of yourself something. Body, mind, and spirit. 1% each. Small enough to sustain, powerful enough to compound. And over time, that's how you stop feeling divided and start living aligned. That's how you rise whole. You say you want freedom. Freedom from the weight of unfinished tasks. Freedom from the noise that pulls you in every direction. Freedom from the feeling that you're living on someone else's terms. But here's the paradox most people never face. Freedom doesn't come from doing whatever you want whenever you want. That kind of life feels good for a moment, but soon it collapses into chaos. No structure, no stability, no direction. And chaos doesn't set you free. It traps you. Think about the mornings where you woke up without order. You drifted, reacting to everything that came your way. Every request felt urgent. Every distraction stole your focus. And by the end of the day, you were exhausted without having moved closer to what mattered. That's not freedom, that's being pulled. True freedom is born in discipline. Not the harsh kind that crushes you, but the steady kind that builds a framework you can stand on. Discipline is the quiet decision to do what matters, even when it's easier not to. It's the structure that protects your energy from being wasted on things that don't deserve it. It's the daily choices that keep you aligned with your direction, instead of scattering into noise. It starts small. A morning ritual you don't abandon. A promise to yourself that you keep no matter how you feel. These actions may look ordinary, but they are shields. Shields against distraction. Shields against chaos. Shields against chaos. Shields against the old version of you that once chose comfort over growth. Each habit becomes a guardrail, keeping you from drifting into places that waste your potential. Discipline doesn't take freedom away, it gives it back. When you choose to rise at the time you said you would, when you choose to tend to your body, when you choose to direct your focus before the world steals it, you are reclaiming ownership of your life. You are proving that you are not at the mercy of mood or circumstance. You are steering, not drifting. The truth is, without discipline, someone else will decide for you. Your boss, your phone, the endless stream of demands waiting outside your door. But with discipline, you set the tone. You decide where your time goes. You choose what deserves your energy. And from that choice, freedom emerges, not because the world becomes easier, but because you've built the strength to carry it without being broken by it. Yes, discipline requires sacrifice. But the sacrifice is not your freedom. The sacrifice is your chaos. You give up distraction, inconsistency, and wasted time. And what you gain in return is control, peace, and the ability to move in the direction you choose. So tomorrow morning, when the temptation comes to delay, to drift, to give in to comfort, remember this: every time you honor discipline, you are building a life with more freedom, not less. Because freedom isn't found in escape, it's found in mastery, and mastery is simply discipline, repeated until it becomes who you are. That is the kind of freedom no one can take from you. You want change, and you want it now. You want to look in the mirror and see the results instantly. You want the weight to fall, the habits to stick, the life to look different overnight. But when you try and nothing seems to move, frustration creeps in. You feel stuck in the same body, the same routines, the same struggles, and that's where most people quit. Not because change is impossible, but because it feels invisible. But here's the truth: change is never dramatic in the moment. It's quiet, it's slow, it's 1% at a time, and in the moment 1% feels like nothing, too small to matter, too slow to notice. But compounded over weeks, months and years, that 1% becomes everything. It builds a version of you so different, so strong, so clear, that even you will barely recognize the person you once were. Think about who you were years ago. The thoughts you carried, the habits you repeated, the way you saw yourself. You aren't that same person anymore. You've already changed more than you give yourself credit for. And that same process is still available to you. Each small step forward plants a seed. Each seed grows roots you don't see until the tree is already rising. The problem is not that growth isn't happening. The problem is your impatience. You measure your progress by days instead of decades. You want transformation to happen in a season, when real transformation takes a lifetime. That's why you must learn to trust the long view, the perspective that honors the process even when the results are hidden. 1% daily improvement doesn't just change your habits, it changes your identity. You stop being someone who waits for perfect conditions and start being someone who moves forward regardless. You stop being someone defined by their past and start being someone building their future, one deliberate action at a time. And slowly, without fanfare, the gap widens between who you used to be and who you are becoming. Patience is the test, because there will be months when progress feels invisible, when the effort feels wasted, when you question if it's worth it. But if you stay the course, you'll realize that those months weren't empty. They were the foundation. The roots were growing deep, preparing you to rise higher than you thought possible. And one day you'll wake up and notice the weight isn't as heavy. The habits aren't as forced. The thoughts that used to control you don't have the same power. You've become someone new. Not through sudden change, but through relentless consistency. And the best part, that new version of you will look back and barely recognize the old one. The one who doubted, delayed, hesitated. That's the long view. Transformation is not a single moment. It's the accumulation of countless unseen ones. It's the patience to give the process time to work. It's the commitment to keep showing up when nothing seems to be changing. Because the truth is, change is always happening, slowly, quietly, 1% at a time. So hold the long view, trust the process. Because if you do, the life in front of you will become unrecognizable, and so will you.